I found out that my name means why in the language of my mother's country, Amharic. By that time, I'd written 2 or 3 books of poetry. So I am a poet who finds out his name means why. So if you were to ask me, is there mysticism or is there another level of consciousness and contact between human beings and the past, the future, the present and their environment? The answer is yes. And art, and science actually as well, they draw on that powerful life force and energy. In the 1960s, in England, there was a practice of stealing babies from single pregnant women. This has been proven. I was one of those babies. I had my name changed. I was told my mother did not want me. I was given to foster parents and then I was placed in children's homes. And over 18 years, I was kept as a secret from myself. At 18 years of age, I found out what my name was, and I then began the search for my mother and my father and my sisters and brothers, and that took until I was 34 to find them all around the world. And in 2015, I found my files from the social services, and I used them to take the government to court and then to publish my memoir. Every day of my life, I receive some message from somebody somewhere in the world that has been inspired by the book. And so I get everything back. You know, by writing this book, by living the life that I have, I feel like I get love in abundance from people from all over the world, and that's quite amazing, considering my story was so lacking of love in the early years. So I'm very pleased. My parents, they said they were my family forever. They said that my mother did not want me and that they had saved me. My mother was from this dark, far distant place called Africa, this place of poor people, unintelligent people, corrupt people. And they were there to save me. So they kept me for 12 years and they taught me to call them mum and dad and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles. This is just from a few months old. And then they placed me into children's homes when I was 12 and said they would never speak to me or visit me again, and they never did visit me. And I lost everybody. I lost all members of my family, brother, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. That is corrupt. That is, they had a moral poverty. So the ways that they were looking at Africa were actually inside them. Corrupt, moral poverty, and actually poor. The greatest lesson of my childhood was that if you are loved, and if you love something, it will disappear. And it will be your fault. I was a very joyful young boy, and I did think that everybody smiled in the world. Like, I was like, wow, the world is an incredible place because people smile all the time. Like, everybody smiles. I would even think to myself, okay, let me just go out and see if people are smiling. You know, just see. I'll just like have a little experiment in my head. And everybody smiled. And it was much, much later on in life that I realised that they were smiling because they were smiling back at me, smiling at them. So I smiled and they smiled back at me. But all I saw was them smiling. You only really realise how much you smiled when you stop smiling. You know, when you feel that your smile has been taken away and you are surviving. And much later on, do you look in the mirror and you think, I've lost my smile. You know, I've lost that. What came natural to me is not there anymore. My face is changing. The experience I had literally wiped the smile off my face. I have fought to get my smile back. There was a sustained attack on my childhood over 18 years, okay? A sustained attack on me not finding out what abuses had been done to me by the government and by representatives of the government throughout my childhood. And the thing is about this, most of all, is that I'm the only witness. And this idea of being the witness is both very scary, very frightening, because you feel like you're in the middle of a nightmare, but it is also incredibly empowering. Because if you are going to live, if you are going to survive this, you will survive it as a witness. As a witness, I needed to gather evidence. I gathered evidence first by writing poems so that I could remember what had happened and the impact it had on me. But I gathered actual evidence through a series of BBC documentaries that I made throughout my adult life that took the television cameras back to those institutions, that asked, you know, the journalist to inquire into why did this happen to this boy? And what was the result of what happened to this boy? And who's accountable for what happened to this boy? So those documentaries found evidence of what had happened to me and what had been done to me. And the final evidence came in a series of files written about me every 2 months for 18 years. And I got those files in 2015 after fighting for them for 30 years. I find myself now in a position in life where you can make a difference by empowering others, and that is as exciting, probably more exciting, than empowering yourself. So I think I've done a lot to empower myself against a story which is very dismantling. You can fight against what has tried to break you, but there has to be a moment where not that you stop fighting, but you use the skills that you've attained by fighting to hold somebody, to be able to read somebody who is in need, to be able to change the shape of the room. The room is this. You're the victim. There's the power. Changing the shape of that room says you have the power. That's it. The way you behave when you're hurt, the way I behave when I'm hurt, became a habit because I understand what it is to be hurt. You see, I understand pain, I understand loss, and therefore I find myself having particular behaviours that relate to loss, that relate to pain, that relate to survival. I'm a survivor. People say I'm a survivor. But actually, it's more important not just to survive, but to live. Change the room. I'm not the victim. We have to believe in our ability to be bigger, stronger, bolder, more vulnerable than any of the forces that try to break us. And when we do realise that, magic happens, man. And this is why art is important, and this is why science is important as well.